In week 8, I showed just how good I am this year at NFL tipping. Once again, going 13 from 16 in what was a very unpredictable round. I picked some great upsets for you guys. The Eagles at $2.30 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and also the Arizona Cardinals sneaking that win against the Miami Dolphins, but some value underdog there at $2.65 as well. Also got the Rams upset wrong. Kind of wish I went with that one. They had a lot of players come back from injury late in that game, and I was going to change that tip, but I did stick with the Vikings, and I had a bit of a play at the Rams money line spread. But guys, let's get into NFL Week 9, and in 3 weeks' time, I will be there at some games of NFL. I'm really excited.
To entertain house.
Game number 1 for the week, we'll see the Houston Texans take on the New York Jets, and this game is in New York, and the Jets are coming off a really poor loss to the Patriots towards the end of the game. Again, they led a lot. Their kicker sold them that game, and I've been saying it for weeks. The Jets, there's issues there. They're not doing much. They're not looking great. They can acquire all they want, previous Packers, but they're just not doing the job. And now, a lot of pressure on this team. They're not going to be in the playoffs. I can't see it happening. And they're favourites. They're favourites at home once again against the Texans team. And I know they do lose Stephon Diggs for the season, but you know, I think there are backups within Houston that can do a job, catch CJ Stroud sort of ball. I still think they've got a lot to like about the Texans. They haven't been as lethal as they probably were last year, but they're still having a great season. And the disrespect for Houston to be $2.10 here is massive. Houston are specials for this game. They're going to come to New York. They're going to pull up a win, an upset win, according to punters. I think the Houston Texans win this one by 9 points. I could see them winning by 13 plus or 14 plus, but I'm going to go 9 points, played a bit safer. Next up is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Dallas Cowboys. This game in Atlanta. Atlanta coming off a win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense wasn't great in that game, although the defense has been solid this year. The Dallas Cowboys, they haven't looked great this year. Put up some nice numbers against the 49ers towards the end of that game. You could even say they were playing like the 49ers were playing like the Falcons a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl. But look, Dallas are a chance here, and Dallas could turn up and get a win on the road, but because they really need to. Dallas absolutely need this win, probably more so than Atlanta. But I just think Atlanta are playing as a team. Kirk's really fitting into this team. So I think Atlanta is going to be too good at home here and just embarrass the Dallas Cowboys that haven't been great this year. And Dak's been very inconsistent. So, I think the Falcons win and win quite well here. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons by 12 points. Next up is the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off a loss to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, they did it last year and they've done it again this year. They beat the Baltimore Ravens. Now they take on the Denver Broncos, who the Denver Broncos are really flying under the radar. They're a pretty solid team this year, not going to lie. Love what I've seen from the team. They're putting up some big scores as well. But the Baltimore Ravens have been absolutely lethal. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, they got a 7-point win. I think it was a 7-point win against the Washington Commanders just a few weeks ago, who again have been playing some really good football. And I think some teams know in their head just how good Baltimore are, and they want to match it with them. And I think Denver's in with a big chance here, and I think they're about 7.5. I'm actually going to take Denver to cover the line. I'm going to tip Baltimore Ravens to sneak home. I think they don't go back-to-back losses here, especially at home, but Denver's going to make it tough for them. Close game here. Baltimore Ravens to win this one by 3 points. It's going to come down to a field goal, and Baltimore are going to seal it. Next up is the Buffalo Bills taking on the Miami Dolphins. When this game comes around, it's always the Buffalo Bills getting it. Miami blew that game against the Cardinals. They had that game on a string, and they've been doing that sort of thing all year. Props to Tua for sliding, not making contact, things like that. Sliding, it was really good to see, and hopefully he sort of gets through that this season uninjured. And hopefully the Dolphins do a bit better for Tua and this team. But I think the Bills embarrassed them here. I think the Bills have been putting up some big numbers, and I don't think the Dolphins are a great team at all this year. So I'm actually going to tip one of my biggest margins I've tipped this year. I'm going to tip the Buffalo Bills to get this win because they're on fire, and Buffalo are going to win by 19 points. Next up is the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Carolina Panthers, although they haven't been getting wins, they have been playing okay. They take on a New Orleans Saints team who haven't been playing all that well. Due a win, and this is an opportunity for them to get the win. I think the Saints are going to put on a bit of a show here. Something tells me the Saints are going to put up some big numbers. I think the Saints, they did it in the first 2 weeks. They've been injured throughout the season and they've been struggling, but against a team like the Carolina Panthers, I think they can expose them well here. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints to win this one by 17 points in a blowout. Next up is the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders played fairly well against the Chiefs. They kind of threw away that game, had opportunities to win that game, and I thought they played fairly well for the most part, besides towards the end there, really poor in sort of that third, fourth quarter. But the Raiders, a nice performance overall at home. Now they go on the road against Cincinnati, who are getting desperate. Probably should have won that game against the Eagles according to betting the other day, but it was the Eagles that flogged them. And Cincinnati are not a great team at all this year, and they need a lot of improvement. But I think Cincinnati win this one. I get a feeling it's to be really tight. I think the Raiders can go sort of back-to-back good performances, which is something we haven't really seen this year, but I think here they're going to keep it close. Cincinnati at home. Joe Burrow is going to do his thing and just sneak home. I'm going to go Cincinnati to win this one by 5 points. Next up at Cleveland, it is the Cleveland Browns taking on the LA Chargers. And the Chargers got a nice win. Their offense took a long time to click in that game the other day, but they started to click in all the right sort of time. And look, the Cleveland Browns had a great win against the Baltimore Ravens, but let's not forget that this team has a record of 2-5 at the moment. So not a great record at all for Cleveland. They are at home here. This is a winnable game for the Browns. Their defense can absolutely stop the Chargers, much like the Arizona Cardinals defense did stop the Chargers just a few weeks ago. But I like the Chargers here. I think the Chargers got that win at home. Now they need to prove that they can get a win on the road. I'm going to go the Chargers to win a closer game. I don't think the Browns have been all that good, so I think they can win by a decent margin. I'm going to go the Chargers win this one by 8. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns go back-to-back, but I think the Chargers have a bit too much offense for the Browns defense. Next up, it is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Indianapolis Colts. And I hear that Joe Flacco is back for this one. He obviously led to the Colts to a victory a few weeks ago. And look, I think Minnesota, I don't know if they're going to go 3 straight losses. And if they do, it's massive alarm bells considering their start to the season of 5-0. This is tough. I think Minnesota are going to be too good here. They're at home. They're on back-to-back losses. They'll be pretty disappointed with the loss to the Rams last week, and I think they bounce back and win well. I still trust Minnesota. They put up some good points against the Vikings a few weeks ago, put up a decent game against the Rams there, just weren't able to get the win. So they're still clicking in offense. Can they get their defense right in this game? Minnesota Vikings to win by 14 points. Up at New York, it is the New York Giants taking on the Washington Commanders, and Daniel Jones now has a record of 1-16 in Monday night football games, I believe, or either prime time game. Horrible record for the Giants to have. It's a season from hell once again for this team. Their plays for a 2-point conversion attempt, awful. I've got a lot of worries here because the Commanders have put up some great offense, but the Bears were able to stop them at times. It was obviously a massive Hail Mary, one of the biggest moments of the year, with Jaden Daniels coming in from that knee injury and being a late inclusion and getting his team the win. He's playing unreal, but I think the Giants are going to keep this closer than people think. So I am going to tip the Washington Commanders to win once again. They are killing it this season in the NFC, but I think it's going to be a 10-point win. Next up is such a hard game to pick. It is the Tennessee Titans, who got absolutely killed by the Detroit Lions, taking on the New England Patriots, who will take confidence out of getting a win against New York. And they'll go on the road here against the Tennessee Titans team, who are conceding a lot of points. I believe they conceded a lot of points to the Bills just a few weeks ago. So really struggling in defense, desperate for a win. you could say both these teams desperate for a win if you want to say New England try and make a late run, but something tells me that the Tennessee Titans are going to win this one. I think a lot of people are going to fall into a trap of picking New England just because they got a win last week. But Tennessee's due. They're at home. I think they get this one. Will be close. But I am going to go with Tennessee Titans to win by 5 points. Next up, it is the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Chicago Bears. And the Bears were very unlucky to lose that game against the Commanders based on the Hail Mary at full time. The Arizona Cardinals, 2 weeks back-to-back late wins in the game. Last week, only winning by 1 point. Now they're back at home. They're in some form, Arizona. And let's not forget, they beat the Rams at the start of the year. The Chicago Bears haven't beaten any bigger teams of mine, whereas the Arizona Cardinals have. And I feel like the Bears should be favorites for this game, even though it's in Arizona. But I'm going to go the other way. I reckon Arizona win. And I think they do it in back-to-back weeks. I think they win by 1 point. Another thriller. A very upsetting loss here coming up for Chicago. Losing by 1 is going to break them. But I haven't seen enough from Chicago to say that they are the real sort of deal this season. And I think that Arizona are playing better football overall. Next up is the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions at Lambeau Field. And the Packers, 4 straight wins. The Lions, 5 straight wins. This is going to be a really good game. Really good game. Jordan Love looks like to be out for this one, which is very unfortunate for the Packers there. As for Detroit, they're scoring a lot of points and getting a lot of things right, looking like a pure Super Bowl contender this season in the NFC, taking on an NFC rival in the Green Bay Packers. I think that Detroit are going to be too good here, especially if Jordan Love is out. It's a massive out for the Packers for mine. And I think that the Lions are killing it. They're going to win by 11 points in this one. Next up at Lumen Field, this is a tough one to pick. It's the Seattle Seahawks, who started off okay, but haven't been great since. And they take on the LA Rams, who have all their big guns back, got a nice win against the Minnesota Vikings, look to be going on a late run in the NFC late in the season here with all their players back, playing really well. And the Seattle Seahawks, they aren't playing great. They are at home. They are underdogs in this one. The LA Rams are favourites. I feel like it is a 50-50 game. Hard one to pick. I'm going to go with my gut here. I think Seattle win. I think the Seahawks bounce back from that loss against the Bills, win this one at home. Very tight one against the Rams. Seattle Seahawks to win by 2 points. Next up, it is the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jaguars aren't having a great season at all. Philadelphia started the season very slow, even though they were winning games. They weren't winning them by great margins. Now they're starting to do that, and they're starting to impress me more and more as they've gone through this sort of October run. See how they go in November. I'm going to Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Rams. Looking forward to that game. As for this game, I think the woes for the Jaguars continue once again, and I think it will be a win the way of the Eagles. They've got their offense right. I think it'll be closer. I think the Eagles win by 7 points. And finally, I'm not wearing another team's jersey until we lose. I'm scared of this game. I'm scared of this, especially if they did have all their players coming back from injury, but they don't. A lot of players out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their offense is supreme this year. They've been playing really well, putting up some big points, 26 against the Falcons last week. I think 27 or maybe even 30 against the Baltimore Ravens the previous week. So, look, the Chiefs' defense is good. Is it going to be good enough to contain a Tampa Bay team? If this game was in Tampa, I don't know. But it's at Arrowhead. The boys are going to win. We haven't won a game 14 plus this year. I think that trend continues. I think the Chiefs win a close game. We win by 5 points. Those are my tips for week 9 of the NFL. Do apologise for my light. It needs to be changed. It's absolutely awful, but I haven't gotten around to it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Let me know your tips in the comment. And let me know which game you're most excited for some content. I'm going to the Chargers versus Ravens and the Rams versus Eagles in just 3 weeks. Really excited. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.